Welcome back to TGIF. I'm Jeff. Yes, we have some wonderful guests tonight. We have two guests, and we're going to have some pretty in-depth interviews tonight. My first guest is going to be Sharon Dante, the founder and artistic director of the Nutmeg Ballet, and Mr. Tom Edwards, who brought along with him a clip from an interview with Charlie Daniels that took place at the Warner not too long ago. We're going to take a quickie. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Yes, we're back. We're back. That was more than 30 seconds. Ed said it would be 30 seconds. It was like 3 minutes and 30 seconds, wasn't it?
It felt that way.
Yes, yes. My first guest, we've had a wonderful time chit-chatting during the commercial breaks. She's the founder and artistic director of the Nutmeg Ballet. Won't you please welcome Ms. Sharon Dante?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. It's wonderful to be here.
Yes.
I have felt warmly welcome this evening.
We're a friendly bunch.
Yes, all the new friends here at Laurel Cable and all of my old friends. I haven't seen them in a long time, so it's wonderful to be here.
Now, we have some video footage. We're not going to go to it right now, but this is sort of like show and tell.
Mm-hmm. Little history lesson.
Little history lesson, exactly.
Sure.
So where do you want to start?
Well, you're new to the Nutmeg Ballet.
Yes.
You
yes.
admitted to me earlier this evening when we met that you don't know too much about Nutmeg Ballet, but I think lots of our viewers are aware that we've been here. In fact, in another year and a half, we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary of dance here in Torrington.
Wow.
And some very eventful happenings, or, you know, I don't want to repeat that word twice, but we've had an eventful 25 years. And I tried to actually bring some video this evening for Ed Guiney to put on the air from 1976, but it was taped in the wrong speed, and he only has very modern equipment here, so he was unable to
yes, only
produce
the finest
that.
here at Laurel, yeah.
So,
Where's he been hiding this very modern equipment?
We've been looking for it. We were looking for it earlier. But he did manage to tape some little episodes from Nutmeg history. Actually, we can segue right into that. I'm not going to go back to the beginning of Nutmeg Ballet, which was here in Torrington in the early 70s. We founded Nutmeg in 1969. And but I want to mention some names, names of people that I think were very important to the early history and the formation of the company. And there are four names that I think deserve some credit. They hired me to put together the first dance performance for the Torrington Arts Festival. Two of them are still with us and two of them have passed away. They were the four founders of the Torrington Arts Festival. And they are Carl Basinski and Marie Westerlink, who have since passed away, both recipients of a Nutcracker Award that Nutmeg gave them back in the 80s. And then two other fellows who certainly are around and are wonderful fellows who tried to bring art to Torrington at a time that there was no art in Torrington. And they are Victor Michel Sr. and Izzy Temkin. And if it wasn't for those four people, I'm not sure Nutmeg would have had the start it had back in the 70s. And I just think that for all your viewers, and I know you have a large Torrington following. I heard you're a very famous person.
Yes, I'm well known in supermarkets.
I think it's important. You know, that's where I heard your name.
Oh my gosh.
But at any rate, it's important to mention that they are part of Nutmeg history. So in honor of at least one of those people tonight, the first clip I'm going to show you is probably my #1 person in the history of Nutmeg Ballet. A little clip from two of my first dancers. Both dancers were very successful, trained in a concentrated way for international competitions with me in the 80s. This film clip that you're going to see was taken about 2 months before we reopened the Warner Theater in 1983. It's taken in our studios, which are located at 21 Water Street in our facility. And the dancers are Donna Michelle and Jonathan Bauer. He was then Johnny Duglakinski. They are probably 15 years and 16 years respectively, and they are dancing a pas de deux from Apollo, which was choreographed by Fred Favorite. They're young children, but it's worth taking a look at.
Okay, let's go to that clip. so young and they're so skilled, and the precision is already there. You can see they have that foundation.
They were having fun with that. As I watched that clip, I remember the day well. Mark Travilla actually was doing a program for Laurel Cable because the cable station had just opened. So they were having a lot of fun that day.
So Mark videotaped this.
Mark videotaped this.
And Mark was on my show last week.
Oh, how wonderful.
And we got to see some clips from his more recent things.
Another one of my favorite people in the world. He's just wonderful. In fairness, I want to say about John and Donna, these are early days in our ballet company. I think you can see that John was very skilled. He was probably 16 years old then, and he was very skilled in the art of male partnering. And Donna was younger than John, and she was very, very skilled as well.
Yes.
Went on to Yale, graduated from Yale, and is now a lawyer in Hartford.
Yeah.
So you can see you don't have to dance to be a wonderful dancer. You don't have to have a paid career, and you can be a dancer your whole life. I'm sure Donna will be a dancer her whole life.
And still enjoy it and get that fulfillment from
Absolutely.
it. It's
Absolutely.
wonderful. Now, you have students from all over the place, not just locally, but you have students, I understand, from other countries who come here specifically to study with you.
Right now we do, yes. Starting back in the early 80s, we became very, very interested in sending young people to international ballet competitions. And in 1984, well actually in 1983, I took one of my students, Victoria Mazzarelli, to Varna, Bulgaria, where she fared out very well in a major international competition. We were there in a Soviet country for 3 weeks and had a wonderful time. Brought her back from Bulgaria, and she partnered this young man, John, and the two of them went on to the New York competition, the very first international competition in New York, and Victoria won the only gold medal in that competition. After that, she is now a principal dancer in the Frankfurt Ballet in Frankfurt, Germany. She was with the Basel Ballet for several years, right out of Nutmeg. She left Nutmeg in 1984 with gold medal in hand, went to the competition, won the gold medal. Tony Randall gave it to her. He was the master of ceremonies that evening, and she was offered a job by Heinz Sporling, went to Basel and became their principal dancer in Basel, Switzerland, moved over to Frankfurt, and she comes home to Calhoun Street in Torrington every summer, rides her bike to the Nutmeg, and still takes class. And we now have many students. Yes, we have a young lady from Kiev training with us who was studying at the Russian school and moved to Costa Rica. They heard about Nutmeg and they sent the young lady here. She's going to high school at Torrington High. They love her. It's a wonderful, integration of cultures, so to speak. And we have a young lady from Brazil and another young lady from Portugal who came to work with me recently. But yeah, we have a few students coming.
They come here and they stay with families.
That's correct.
Sort of like a foreign exchange program.
Yes.
Of its own kind. And they go to school. They go to the the regular schools, and then they also study the dance with you.
What I love about this program, when you go to a school, there are many schools in the country that offer this kind of program. North Carolina School of the Arts, and schools with bigger names that are more institutionalized. I think one of the key factors is that Nutmeg remains a small one-on-one situation, and that's why people are attracted to it. My staff and I, my wonderful staff, I have a wonderful
How many teachers
staff.
do you have? Instructors?
We have 5 full-time teachers, and then we have quite famous ballerina Eleanor D'Antuno, who is our resident coach, former prima ballerina of ABT. Another former soloist of ABT, Denise Warner, who was my first ballerina back in 1970 at the Arts Festival, who is now a ballet mistress, works with me, and I bring many, many guests in. But my home team, my associate director right now is Joan Kunch, who's a wonderful choreographer. Scott Feiberg is my resident choreographer. And my associate director in the Torrington School of Ballet is Susan Doucette, and she is just a phenomenal, wonderful teacher. And very often some of my former dancers come back. John was there yesterday. This young man that you just saw was there helping me coach some of my now Nutmeggers.
Now, the Warner Theater reopened with a performance by
Nutmeg
the
Ballet.
Nutmeg Ballet.
That's correct.
Now, you're coming up on 10 years.
Absolutely. You know, I'm coming up on 25 years of teaching in Torrington, and for several of those years, one of my major dreams, I had two dreams that if you were to read an article about Nutmeg, you would read. We want to open the Warner, and we want to go to international competitions, and they happened in the same year. I went to Varna, Bulgaria, and I moved into the Warner the same year. And I say I, but it was our whole organization, a whole group of volunteers and wonderful people. The mayor of the city of Torrington, my goodness, she got the bathrooms ready. She did. Dee, are you out there? Do you remember that day? Susan Strand was there. Just Barry Hewson, who was 12 or 13 then. He was one of our dancers. He was one of our dancers, and he was in there vacuuming. And we brought the whole Nutmeg group of volunteers. There really weren't many volunteers at the Warner, although I have to mention that there were four cornerstones of the Warner. Do I sound like Torrington history here?
Hey, but that's a wonderful thing. That's what we're doing, yeah.
Is it okay if I do that, guys?
It's great.
Okay.
It's great.
Well, I just want to say that there were four very important people with the Warner, although there were many. But in my mind, the most important person was Kay McIntyre. And Kay and I are going to be shown on an interview in a minute. But Kay was just an incredible young woman who had lots of guts and went out there at a time that the economy was bad back then. People forget because the middle years of the 80s were good. But when you see this next clip, you'll see, when we're talking about downtown Torrington, and I hear this regularly, that we have a problem in downtown Torrington, wait until you see this clip of downtown Torrington 10 years ago, and you'll know it's better now. You're laughing, but it is better. We're going to make it even better. We're going to paint the cornices, and we're going to redesign all those buildings. But four people: Paul Schroeder, Kay McIntyre, Joanne Labruto, and my very, very good friend Diane Consolini. And I remember Joanne and Diane up on the scaffolding, 23 feet high, working alone at midnight in the theater, seriously. And I remember Paul for hours in the theater. There was a very small group. Jack Tarter was there, a couple of other original board members. We were all on the original founding board, but we worked hard to get that place open, and we did in 1983. And we have a little clip that this was prior to opening, we were staging the ballet Coppelia, which is a wonderful ballet. I hope I'll do next year or the year after again. But we were getting the theater ready, and we had a wonderful group of people working together. You want to see this clip?
I would love to see this clip.
It's a good time to show it?
Sure. Go to the clip.
And was being used less and less. Shortly after that time, the Warner closed, and it seemed inevitable that they were going to tear it down. Part of the dream of using it as a theatrical house was gone. When we first premiered Nutcracker in 1977, we wouldn't even have considered Warner Theater because it was in shambles. It was being poorly kept up. And in fact, shortly after that time, it closed. We were forced to use a local high school, which was wonderful that we had this facility, but would limit the kind of growth that Nutmeg Ballet could have in the Northwest Connecticut community. If you're going to have a professional ballet company, you need to be functioning in a professional theater. Now we have a wonderful group. It's called the Northwest Connecticut Arts Association. It's taken them 2 years of hard labor, but they have finally come up with the kind of financial backing and the kind of volunteer help which has enabled them at least to put a down payment on the theater and to begin restoration work. This restoration work is going to take a long time, and it's going to be a great effort on the part of our community. But I really feel that the community will benefit in the long run, and for Nutmeg Ballet particularly, we now have a resident dance theater, and we can look to bigger and better productions. Okay, we were talking earlier about the Northwest Connecticut Arts Association. And Nutmeg is certainly privileged to have the opportunity to use the Warner Theater, and it's thanks to the Arts Association and their work. I wish you would tell our audience a little bit about how the association got started and how we managed to get where we are today so that a ballet company...
Okay, well, we're looking at a clip here of Kay, and we're looking to see, we're discussing the opening of the Warner and what a project it was. Really, the Warner folk were out there just trying to get the doors open. We found when we got in there was so much water because there had been so many leaks in the roof. It was just major work, and my crew and company provided the funding to do lots of the stage work. We bought the stage masking, which they later bought, thank God, because it had to stay there. We actually dead hung all of the masking at that time. And my production manager, Richard Coombs, worked so hard to get all of we put several lines in, and they're lucky they have those lines now because that's how they're producing all their shows. But there you have a little clip of the history of the opening of the Warner, and I think we're coming up on some very interesting times now that 10 years have gone by. The Warner is able now to bring so many wonderful things in, and Nutmeg is, when we do our big productions, next year we have 2 big productions for the Warner. We have Nutcracker, 5 performances in December, and we are bringing back our full-length Cinderella in April, and we'll do 4 performances of Cinderella. However, Nutmeg does have its own studio, its Victorian studio theater. We got a large grant to renovate that studio last year. It's a Victorian studio at 21 Water Street. Our building is wonderful. We're in the process of trying to convince our landlord to sell it to us, which I think she should. Don't you agree?
Well, make your public plea now.
Yes,
So
I think we need to own that building so that we can do more with it. It's also on the historic register.
Okay.
And on that 3rd floor, you had the most beautiful Victorian room you've ever seen. And we do our studio performances there. That's how John and Donna and all of my former dancers grew up. We did several studio performances before the renovation. Now that we have the renovation, we're doing a big project this spring. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about that.
Yes, please do. Now we have another clip, but we can hold off on that for a little bit, right?
I actually thought we'd close the show with that clip because that clip is more of the now Nutmeg. It will show the growth from the first clip and the last clip. And I'll tell you about the clip when we close the show. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Good.
That's fine.
Are we getting close to closing the show?
Yeah, we probably have about 5-6 minutes to go.
You know, maybe we should show this clip. This clip is from the Higher Ed Center in Waterbury. When Nutmeg does a full repertoire, classical repertoire concert, it's very difficult to be in the venues such as Warner Theater because the Warner Theater seats 1,700 people.
That is a big house.
Of course, it's very big. And now you're doing a classical ballet concert where you're producing 5 classics, one of which is the Diana and Actaeon. We're going to show you a clip from Diana and Actaeon. The young lady dancing is Carla Kovac, one of those students who moved to Torrington, trained with us for 4 years, is now a principal dancer in Boston Ballet. 2 years later, she's gone from Boston Ballet 2 to Boston Ballet 1. This clip is the year that I brought her to the Prix de Lausanne in Switzerland. She was a semi-finalist. We had just come back, and she's dancing with a young man by the name of Dean Dufford in Diana and Actaeon. You're going to see the female variation followed by the coda.
Okay.
Okay?
having seen how much the ballet has grown, now we need to talk about some things that are coming up, because we have about a minute to wrap this up.
We have a minute to wrap it
Yeah.
up, so I would like to just show this brochure, if I may.
Find the camera and we'll
camera in here.
zoom in on
Can we
it.
get a camera? Many of our folks that are on our, come on guys, hello guys. All right, well.
Wait, this
Here we
this
go.
camera, this camera.
Oh, this camera.
Yes.
Okay, good. It's too close now. It's blurry. Even I can tell. Okay, good.
Oh, it's
There
fine.
you go. Our studio is there. Maybe I'll open this up and you'll see the inside of this.
Okay.
This has been mailed out.
What is the name of this series?
This is the interview series.
The interview series, okay.
There are 10 performances taking place at the Victorian Studio Theater, what we call our studio series. Very specific format. Ballets, for example, one of our ballets is called Catabasis, and you have to come to see it, and it's choreographed by Scott Thyberg. The other is choreographed by Joan Kunch. We have 3 new ballets and 2 revivals. If someone would like this brochure, if they haven't received
How can
it,
they receive this brochure?
they just need to call Nutmeg, 482-4413, and they can order tickets. There are 10 performances to choose from. We want our old audience back. We want to revive our classic audience. If you haven't seen a classic concert, you must. That will make you enjoy all of the other kind of commercial theater that much more. The classic concert offers so much, and when you see fine, classically trained dancers, our upcoming dancers are wonderful. They're a group of wonderful, well-trained youngsters, and we want to see our Torrington audience there.
And I'm sure you will.
I hope so.
Sharon, I want to thank you for coming on.
Okay, well,
and
Jeff,
I wish you
thank
much success, and you're coming up on 10 years.
Thank you.
At the Warner, and your 25 years of teaching.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with our next guest. We're back. My next guest has interviewed people from all over the world, and now he's in my little world sitting next to me. We're going to show a clip in a couple of minutes of an interview he did recently at the Warner Theater with Charlie Daniels. Won't you please welcome Mr. Tom Edwards? Tom, welcome.
How are you, Jeff?
Good.
Good to see you.
Thank you for coming to visit me.
It feels a little bit different here, sitting on this side of the interview desk. Normally, I'm the guy where you are.
Exactly. Now, how long have you been involved with Laurel, Cablevision, doing, these sort of things?
Since they had a hamster on a wheel to provide power for all of these things, actually. I probably go back with Laurel Cablevision and Cable 5 in particular. I'd say 10 or 11 years. Ed and I were talking about this just a little while ago. So it goes back to mentioning the Warner again, the Warner Telethon. Is where I broke into Laurel Cablevision. Prior to that, I was on the radio in Danbury, WLAD, doing controversial talk, and then at INE in Brookfield, and then in Torrington here at SNG.
Okay.
So I've been in several others in between. So I've been around, and the problem is I started off doing primarily controversial talk. In fact, there are probably some folks out there who remember some of the Contrascope shows that we did, and
what kind of things did you talk about on these shows?
you name it. It was political controversy. We had controversial guests. I'm not going to tell you what happened. Some of the things that happened on the shows it was really bizarre. Before Morton Downey was doing this stuff,
Right.
Tom Edwards was doing it right here.
So you had chairs flying across the
Oh, it was
set and
unbelievable. It was
everything?
a lot of fun, Jeff.
Yeah?
We had a good time with it. We really did. And it was a good crew, good tight crew. And I notice your people here, your production crew. You get a much better production. I think the audience especially is appreciative of a show that tries to do it right. And those folks out there, and I'm going to sound like the old not Down Home, that was the radio show, but what was it? Tell Tom Tonight, that was the last one we did here, Controversial Talk. And that was very interesting. I'll tell you what makes a show like that click, the audience. And one thing right here on our system, the Laurel Cablevision system, we have an audience here that gets involved. I mean, if they're going to build a new school, we did a big thing on the middle school, special show. Oh, this thing went on 2 hours, 150 phone calls. People up here get involved, and that's what makes this wonderful.
I have to agree.
Okay, I've run my mouth. Go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Hey, no, not at all, not at all. So you've got quite a history here.
Yes.
Now,
here and other places.
Yeah, well,
Until they throw you out, and then it's like...
such is the nature of radio and TV.
You're right, exactly.
You're as good as your last ratings book.
You got it. That's right. I'll tell you, people have, I still have people that stop me because I still do specials.
Yeah.
We did Torrington's 250th anniversary parade, and my time constraints just don't allow me to do a regular show here all the time, although I would really like to, because I have folks that stop me and say, Tom, why don't you come back, and if you don't want to do controversy, why don't you tell us how to barbecue a chicken or catch a fish? Very similar to the old Down Home that we did on WSNG, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, this is so different being on this side. It really is. It's scary.
Are you having like
butterflies?
Butterflies?
I haven't been a guest very often.
Now, see, I could learn a lot from you because this is something that's relatively new for me, being on this side of the desk or either side of the desk. Being next to a desk is something new for me, so I could probably take some pointers from you. So give me some.
Okay, pointers. Generally, I'm going to tell you, you play to the people because they're the ones who make your show. Otherwise, you might as well do this in a garage with a 100-watt bulb and no camera at all. And that's absolutely the truth. It's the folks out there. If you don't have the audience, and if you don't develop an audience, it isn't going to work.
I would have to agree. Well, I guess we're doing something right here, because I know people do stop me in the store now and they say, I saw you on that show, I saw you on that show. Now, we've been talking and doing what they call the fill, the stall. We shouldn't really tell that to our audience, but we do have a clip of an interview that you did at the Warner Theater, was it 2 weeks ago?
Just about 2 weeks ago,
2 weeks ago, with Charlie Daniels.
For TNN, by the way.
Okay.
As well as Laurel Cable Vision.
As well as Laurel, okay. Yeah. And can we go to that clip and take a look at it?
Hi there, Tom Edwards here at the Warner Theater, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Charlie Daniels, one of my all-time favorite people. Charlie, how are you? Welcome to Torrington.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And you do quite a bit up here in Connecticut, don't you?
Oh, yeah. We get up here, well, different places, but we get up here a couple of times a year. We play all over the New England area.
Yeah, and
Massachusetts.
I've seen you over in Hartford. Yeah.
How you say Hartford?
Hartford.
I thought people up here pronounced it different.
Hatford?
Hatford, yeah.
Well, that's what they say. If you're from Boston, it's Hatford.
Okay.
If you're from Hartford, it's Hartford.
Okay.
And if you're from Torrington, you're at the Warner.
There you go.
Warner Theater, you get around the country, I'm sure. I see you on TNN, on our local cable system, Laurel Cable Vision, I see a lot. And as you travel around, theaters like the Warner right here. This is a theater that's been literally revived, resurrected from what might have been a parking lot not too long ago. And I was just wondering, you get around, do they do a lot of this sort of thing?
Quite a bit of it. There's quite a few well-preserved theaters around the country. The Fox in Atlanta comes to mind. There was a series of concerts done several years ago, probably 12 years ago or so. Leonard Skinner Band was among the people that helped to raise money to save what they call Save the Fox. There was something I think in the wind about maybe pushing it down and making a parking lot or a building or something, and they saved it. It's a real nice theater. And there are about 4 Foxes around the country. There's one in St. Louis, one in Detroit, one in Atlanta, and I think there's one in Milwaukee. But you run into these quite a bit. Of course, the Foxes are very famous because I guess they were the old vaudeville theaters or whatever.
Well, of course.
But there are quite a few well-preserved theaters and revitalized theaters around the country.
Well, that's what they've been working on with this one now for the last God knows how many years, since 83, 84, and it's just a lot of sweat,
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people pitched in. And they did it primarily not to make it into a movie house again, or a revival movie house, although ultimately they may show some pictures here, but to bring people like yourself to the community and be able to put on plays and things. Have you had a chance to take a look at the stage area?
I haven't been up there yet, but I'm going to spend quite a bit of time up there tonight. So
Yeah. Well, I'm sure
I'll get a chance to look around. Yeah, theaters are fun to play because for one thing, they were made for music. They were made the acoustics, and usually they're made with music in mind. They're made with performances in mind. A lot of the places we play are just big multi-purpose basketball arenas or ice hockey places.
You get a lot of this.
Yeah, and then they weren't actually made with playing music in mind. The theaters were. Theaters usually sound really good.
I've seen you at the Palace over in, where is the Palace here in Connecticut? Middletown?
It's in, I can't remember. Everything up here is so close together.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, right, exactly.
I can't tell when I go out of one town and go into the other. It's all one big town almost in that area. It's somewhere around New Haven, I think, or somewhere
down that way. Yeah. Well, we saw you there and quite a few other places. Now, for people who haven't seen, just about everybody's seen you on TNN and doing your thing, and they've all heard your music on the radio. But when they come to a live Charlie Daniels concert, what can they expect to see?
Well, we play a lot of the same things that you hear on the radio and television because that's why people come to see you, so you do your hits. We do, of course, Devil Went Down to Georgia, and South's Gonna Do It, and Long-Haired Country Boy, and
Woolly Swamp.
Woolly Swamp, yeah, and the songs that people have heard over the years on the radio. And we do several of the tunes off the new album. We have a new album coming out this month, in fact. This is April, yeah. Okay. Coming out to be out around the middle of this month. It's called America, I Believe in You is the name of the album, and we do about 4 songs off of it in the show.
That's terrific. Are we going to get a little taste of that tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Geez, we're getting a preview, folks, so that's kind of a nice thing. You know, the Warner, they tell me this show is sold out. Of course, that's nothing new, I suppose, for Charlie Daniels.
Well, all shows don't sell out. We love for them to sell out. That's great. Yeah. It's wonderful. That's the 2 most beautiful words to a musician's ears.
Sold out. Yeah. Well, you've got a lot of fans up in this area. Tell me a little bit about, I don't know, where Charlie Daniels started out. Now, you've been around for probably close to as long as I have, 29 years?
Longer than that. I've been playing, my career spans more than that. I started professionally, fully professionally. I was working kind of semi-professionally before then, but I started fully professionally in 1958. I started playing in taverns, beer joints, you know, for lack of a better name is basically what it was. Played a lot of dance clubs, that sort of thing. I think that's probably one of the best proving grounds a young musician can get into because you play all kinds of music. Of course, at that time, the hits could go anywhere from Elvis Presley to Marty Robbins to Johnny Cash to, you know, and it was a great time to be playing music because to learning to play music and kind of building your chops up and building your style up because there were so many different kinds of music involved.
That's true.
And I played some of all of it.
You know, it's kind of an interesting thing. We look at, now we kind of pigeonhole music, but if you look at it real carefully, and I think you'll agree, in fact, I think I've heard you say this in other interviews, all of the modern music that you're listening to today, what they call pop, is a direct outgrowth of your blues and your country and western and your country, that big lump called country music.
Well, the way I look at it is that we've given the world a couple of original music styles, one being, you get right down to it, we've given one original music style, and that's blues, because jazz was an offshoot of blues. Of course, country music, which if you go back to its roots, you'd probably trace it back over into Ireland and England, and I think the balladeers and the folk songs and a lot of the fiddle tunes and so on came from Ireland and Scotland. And to me, rock and roll, when it first started out, was a combination of blues and country music together.
Very definitely.
And I think that's really, when you get down to it, that's what we are, is like, that's what our band is we play whatever feels good to us and whatever we like to do. And I don't put a name on it, I just call it music.
It's just good music, and it's music for everybody. You know, I notice in the audiences, at the concerts that I've gone to, you run the gamut. My God, you've got little kids, you've got teenagers, and these are kids that might have a Metallica t-shirt on, and they're really getting into your music.
Well, why not? You know,
There's a great crossover.
Really, it's like, music is music. I like I don't like all of any kind of music. I don't like all country music. I don't like all rock music. I don't like all jazz. I don't like all classical, but I like some of all of it.
Sure.
You know, and if you, I'm a big blues fan, and I like the old rhythm and blues and that kind of thing.
Good stuff, yeah.
And I don't see any reason why I can't. If I just said, well, I refuse to like anything but country music, you know, I would miss some awfully good things. And if I said I wasn't going to play anything but what I considered to be country music, I would miss out on some awfully good things. And probably a song like "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" or "Legend of Woolly Swamp" or some of the more glaring examples of our music maybe never would have come to pass if I had tried to, you know, stick with traditional.
With one tradition,
yeah.
sure.
So I don't see any reason why you can't move around. And
musicians making political statements, how do you feel about it? Now, you have had a real big push since right after the Vietnam War, as a matter of fact. Charlie Daniels has done stuff, has done music to really kind of unite the country as patriots, not necessarily to any politician, but to the country again.
I don't look at my music as being political. I mean, I know some people do, and I guess it's an apt name to some people to put to it. But I don't consider anything I do to be political. I don't consider any, except when I go in a voting booth,
right,
you know, and vote. I don't consider it to be political. I don't communicate well with politicians. I communicate.
Nor do I.
Communicate well with people, and the music that I write is for just ordinary people, and that I look at it as communication and not, you know, not particularly political. And like I say, I can see where some people would, but in my mind, it's not political at all.
Because maybe you choose to point out the good things about the country rather than hammering on all the things that are awful.
And we mentioned some of the other things sometime, but politics should only have 4 letters, because I mean it's a pretty dirty game, and it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
There's a few honorable people in politics, but you don't find a lot of them around. I think by the time somebody gets to the point where they have won a national or even a big state election, it's awfully hard to go through without getting, you know, making some promises to some people and kind of getting in bed with some people you shouldn't be in with. So I don't really have a lot of respect for. I have a lot of respect for our system, but I think it could be done a whole lot better.
Yeah. Well, you can't. That's the variable, I suppose, is the people. You know.
Always the people.
The idea is great.
No company, no government, no anything is better than the people who run it, because it always comes down to human beings. Any entity that you look into, whether it's Sears and Roebuck or General Motors or whatever, if you get down and look into it, it's always the people. It's like the Japanese work ethic that has given us such a hard time for the last many years. Is they have a real work ethic, and they get out, and I mean, they're no better workers than we are. They have no more ingenuity than we got.
That's for sure.
But they have developed a work ethic where they really go in and get the job done, and it's caused us a lot of problems over the years. I think we're coming back around to that too.
I think we've noticed it, and we said, you know, we were always on top, and finally, Charlie, we've decided we're going to do it again.
We're still on top.
That,
We're still on top. I don't care what anybody says. You know, I don't buy this thing about that we have deteriorated and felt. We still got. You know, hey, who's borrowing money from us?
Oh, that's right.
The second supposedly military power in the world. I mean, Russia, who we spent hundreds of, probably trillions of dollars to make sure that they didn't, you know, come across their wall, and all of a sudden here they're. I mean, it don't, you know,
like this. Help us out, guys. Yeah.
But we got to remember they still got those guns over there.
Yeah, you always got to keep an eye. You know, it never hurts to look behind your back.
I don't think so.
You know, back to the music again. Things that you've done over the years. Again, you've pretty well gone from satire and comedy in your music, and you've done some rather heartfelt things. And where do you get your inspiration for stuff like this?
Just whatever, you know, songwriting is a God-given talent. It's always anything creative is, and it's just always below the surface. And it just takes something to kind of, you know, plant a seed and start it germinating, and you kind of go from there. It depends on what's on your mind, you know, what you're thinking about, what you're something that happens, something somebody says, or just a totally hypothetical situation that comes into your mind, and you sit down and start writing a song about it.
Well, you're quite a storyteller in your music. Devil Went Down to Georgia, Woolly Swamp. I mean, these are all really they're kind of exciting ballads, is what they are, you know. And you wonder, I mean, are these based on anything that?
No, not
heard,
particularly. There really
stories?
is a place called the Woolly Swamp down in North Carolina, but the rest of the story is totally fictitious. It's nothing. Nobody lives there. There's no alligators there. So, but I used to hunt there when I was a boy, and it's a real place, but the rest of the story is totally fabrication. Then went down to Georgia. I think was probably I had a poem called The Mountain Whippoorwill back in high school. It was about a fiddle contest, you know, and it was a big long poem, Stephen Vincent Benet poem.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what kind of inspired me to get started on that particular
Well, that one worked.
path. Yeah, it worked real well.
Super tune,
It's
yeah.
still working.
Yeah, everybody I think still kind of sits back and waits for that one. Now, where's Charlie Daniels headed with all of his music? And
I'm headed to Wheeling, West Virginia.
that's next, huh?
Well, we just gotta take one day at a time, really. I don't know until we go and actually start to write music for a new album. I can't tell you what it's going to be like. The album we have coming out now is totally different from anything any album that we've done in the last several years.
The one that's going to be released in about, well, here it is
Couple
early
weeks.
in April, a couple of weeks from now, yeah.
It's a different sort of album. It's kind of reverting back to our roots, our hard driving sort of good time, you know, music.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of danceable type stuff on it. But I don't know until we actually sit down and start to create. I don't know what we're going to create.
What it's going to come out.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, that's terrific. Tell me about Volunteer Jam.
Volunteer Jam started as a live recording session for a couple of tunes. We did an album called Fire on the Mountain, which was our first gold and subsequently platinum album.
Just might interrupt and say Charlie's had about 7 of those. Gold, platinum, or
Well,
more.
we've had quite a few golds and platinums over the years, a couple of
There's been a
doubles.
bundle of them. Yeah.
But we had 2 songs we wanted to do live, and wanted to do it in front of a live crowd. So we scheduled a small hall in Nashville, called it Volunteer Jam, because the state of Tennessee's called Volunteer State. And it's a good time. It really is good.
And that's an ongoing thing?
Well, yeah, we don't do one every year. I mean, it's we do one when when the spirit moves us.
Yeah.
We do one.
You know, Charlie, and I'll be darned if I can remember, but I just want to touch on it quickly. We're almost out of time, believe it or not. But Charlie Daniels does a lot to put back into. You know, you talk about the people and this and that. I've seen the various spots that you've done for various causes to perk up, you know, the kids and to perk up the families and get people back where they should be and get their heads straight, which I think is a pretty wonderful thing.
Well, thank you.
And, you know, I think if everybody took the time to do that sort of thing.
Well, I think everybody does in their own way. Most people do. I'm just a little more visible at it, you know, than a lot of people are. I think a lot of people, just a kind word to somebody goes a long way sometimes.
It certainly does.
Or, you know, just little things that people do that nobody actually knows about because they don't get a chance to stand in front of a camera, in front of a microphone like I do. But I think a lot of, people are pretty good folks at heart.
I think so,
Really,
too, if you give them a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlie, believe it or not, we are just about out of time.
Okay.
And I just want to thank you, and you've got to go upstairs and do a concert very shortly.
Very shortly, yeah.
So, folks, the Warner is sold out for this concert, but I'm sure Charlie will be back in the area soon. And I don't know, are you going to be in Connecticut? Anything booked already?
We'll be back up this way. I don't remember exactly where, but we'll be back up this way a little later on in the year. Yeah, I can't remember like I used to the venues and the times that we're going to be there, but we'll be back again, and we hope to come back here again.
Well, at least it's an indoor concert tonight,
Yeah.
which is
It's a good
news.
thing, too.
Charlie, thank you very much.
Tom. Okay, buddy.
Folks, take care.
Boy, yeah.
Charlie Daniels.
Charlie Daniels, yeah. Now, it's real obvious, Tom, from the body language. I mean, watching that interview, the way, you know, you both were relaxed there, you got him to talk to you. Now, how do you get people to talk to you? Some people just, they're uncomfortable on camera. What's your secret? How do you get them to
Well,
talk?
first of all, getting the easy ones like Charlie Daniels or Peter Noon or Dick Ebersol to be natural on camera is easy because they're professionals and they are very comfortable with it. But there are others who shall remain nameless who are what they call a tough interview.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, I haven't interviewed this actor. Matthew Broderick would be a very difficult interview. I've seen him. He's not comfortable in an interview situation. How do you do it? Basically, we do a little something the folks may be interested or not. It's called a pre-interview, which means you talk to the people you're going to be interviewing for just a moment or two before you do the actual interview. You either connect or you don't. You know immediately, and you take steps. It's no secret, any interviewer does it the same way. You make your guest feel as comfortable as possible. But that's the way it's done. And you have to be real. I can't sit there and be Tom Edwards, a totally different person. They have to be seeing Tom Edwards as Tom Edwards really is, and they're going to give me Charlie Daniels or this one or that one the way they really are.
In other words, be the person, not the personality.
That's it. You got it.
That's right.
Sure.
Tom, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I want you to come back and tell us about some more of these interviews.
Oh,
that you've got going
some
on.
of the weirdos?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, exotic. We'll say exotic.
Some of the tough ones.
Okay,
yeah.
now which camera's on me? Which one? Which one? This one, this one. No, this one. Oh, here we go again. Yes, there. Hello. Okay, we're going to be back next week. I can't tell you who my guests are. I'm not really sure, but I know we're going to have a lot of fun. I want to say a special hello to my producer, Christy McBennett, and her family. Sorry that you couldn't be here tonight, Christy. I hope everything's going well. And to all of my friends and family and folk out there, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week at 8 o'clock on TGIF.